I don't think that my relationship is any different.
Anytime there's ignorance, we never treat people correctly. And it just goes as simple as that. You know, we build up all kinds of stereotypes and images that unfortunately are oftentimes negatively fueled by media. So consequently, we marginalize people that we don't understand.
If a young couple is feeling discriminated against, that is a biracial couple as well, I would say call it out.
My definition of queer is anyone who falls under the LGBTQA rainbow. So I would say anybody who goes outside of like a heterosexual relationship. I know that some people define queer as broader than that, but I still hold true to it just being like a non-heterosexual relationship.
And we're explicit about it. We speak specifically about being accepting of LGBTQ people because they are people. They are people who, like you and me, desire to be loved and to be part of community, who did not choose to love the people that they love, but have found that who they love is somehow in conflict with what other people assume to be normal or okay. And for me, I see everyone as a child of God and worthy of God's love and affection and blessing. And so no one is outside of that.
Yeah, I think in general in the world, when you're a minority, whatever it might be, people treat you different, right? And so, I mean, one thing that I can think of is even going through the process of being assigned to a congregation and going through interview processes and stuff like that, there aren't as many congregations in the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, so that's the denomination I'm in. There aren't as many congregations in the ELCA that are welcoming to people who are LGBTQ. And so knowing that that's out there, some of my colleagues, it took years and years and years before they finally found a congregation that would call them. And then you can even think about, you know, there are times when my boyfriend and I are walking down the street holding hands and, you know, people are shouting, you know, Leviticus at you, know, no man should lie with a man, or, you know, go to hell, you homos, or faggot, or stuff like that as you're walking down the street. And so, I mean, those things I don't think usually happen to most straight couples walking down the street. So it is a very a different experience to have that when you're walking down the street with your significant other.
This scripture is explicit about all kinds of different things and ways of being in society that we would today accept, whether it would be eating certain types of foods or allowing certain people to speak or not speak in a church context. And so what people often do is they sort of pick and choose which parts of the Bible they want to hold as true and which parts of the Bible they want to sort of just pretend don't exist.
Bye.
Same. I told my mom, then I told my brother, and then my younger siblings just kind of picked up on it, basically.
I just posted it on Facebook because I was so upset with my mom and dad.
So the world, basically. It's weird because my mom kind of actually acted happy, like she just wanted a gay son or something. She acted kind of happy. My brother, he didn't really care. He just didn't mind it. And same thing with my younger siblings, they didn't really care.
Well, for me, my mom and dad, they don't accept me. My brothers and sisters, they cool with it though. I don't know, I just feel sad. Like, that's crazy. Like, it's just crazy to me that people that's not related to me can accept me, but my own blood, that, yeah, I don't like talking about it.
I was kind of scared at first because she tricked me into telling her. So I was kind of scared, but after it was like a big relief.
The main thing that I think I demonstrated in the book was, first of all, that these interracial relationships are just as solid and stable as any other interracial relationship or any other, you know, same ethnic couple marriages. So that's the first thing. There's nothing that unusual about them. But because of the way society has historically treated black people, I have to tell you, it's far easier being a black woman married to a white male socially than the reverse pattern. And the whole need to keep white women away from black men, most black men still, and depending on when they are, will encounter some kind of negative perception from somebody being interracially married. I can say what's great about that is that I think times are beginning to soften some of those views. But for a black woman to be married to a white male, essentially all I have confirmed is that a white male can marry anybody he wants. And society will accept that person because white males are at the top of the heap socially.
Like, I never really noticed it until I started to get older. Like, we met when we were like 21, 22. And it wasn't a thing. Like, if I was looked at, if we did get looks, I didn't really notice it.
I think we're getting better about that. I really am happy about some of the programming out here for interracial couples as well as LGBT couples. And the reason I say that is because before that, you know, particularly for the LGBTQ couples, everything was always, you know, made to look like it's strange and weird. You know, you even have all these things called queer studies and all this kind of stuff. But I think increasingly what you're seeing is that people are accepting the fact that people that are not quote unquote traditionally heterosexual can have perfectly happy, stable, and loving relationships.
From anyone's, yeah, I don't. I think that I'm not special at all. Like, I don't think we're special. Do maybe we get looks once in a while? Maybe. I don't really notice them though, you know? Like, I'm too involved in my own life. Maybe that's selfish of me. But I've never really, again, like, comments from people who you don't really know, who aren't your friends or your family, sometimes will say stupid stuff. I remember this one guy, he was white, and from Texas, not that it matters, but anyway, my friend's brother, told me or we were at a place, a bar together or something, and my husband shows up, who I think was just my boyfriend at the time, and he looks at me, my friend's brother looks at me and is like, oh, and I was like, well, what does that mean, you know? And I was like, and I had my friend who was next to me, and he was like black and Mexican, and I was like, what, did you think this was gonna be my boyfriend, you know? And he's just like, oh, you know. So it's just like, I think they were surprised to see that I was with a white person, a Caucasian person.
I think that the comparison between interracial relationships and LGBTQ relationships are often made when trying to get people to understand discrimination and civil rights. And so I think for a lot of times, to get closed-minded people to understand how important it is, like how important civil rights for queer people is, when you make the comparison for them, like, remember when a black woman and a white man couldn't get married or couldn't be seen in public or couldn't kiss. Remember when they couldn't get married? I think that a closed-minded person might be like, oh yeah, like that wasn't that long ago, and they will agree that, well, hopefully, or most people will acknowledge that that was like a time that was in history that was long ago, and that nowadays seems just like wrong. And I think most people in general will agree with that. And so I think using that comparison to illustrate civil rights for LGBT people